If you feel like you're trying everything, whether it's journaling, the meditation, the yoga, trying to stay calm when it comes to trying to achieve peace, but it's still out of reach, just know that was me. And I had no idea how many hidden habits I was doing that was blocking me from achieving that true peace. And I'm sharing 5 things that I had to release to come back to peace and what happened when I did. So stay tuned for the 5th one because it was the hardest one to let go. But when I did, it changed everything. Hi, sweet soul. I'm Anaya. And here is a place where we talk about healing, unlearning, and cultivating a life that feels like peace. So if you feel like you're a person that wants to stop performing strength and start living a softer and more genuine life, please subscribe and like the video because it helps more than you know. So the first thing that I had to release to achieve true peace, looking at my notes, is over-identifying with productivity. Over-identifying with productivity because when it comes to checklists and checking off every box, I was definitely that girl who had to read every day, who had to stretch or do some kind of exercise every day, and the list goes on. And if I didn't do every single thing that was on that list, I had a day that was not too good. I was not going to enjoy the day. I was going to feel like I was a failure. So a lot of unlearning that hustle culture is what brought me back to peace. And it made me feel valuable to get things done. It made me feel valuable to kind of check things off. And when I had a day off, I was going to be doing something. I wasn't going to be sitting at home because it's either I'm doing everything or I'm bed rotting. And either way, like there was no medium and no one wants to live like that. Like there's a fire under your ass 24/7. So letting go of that need to be consistently productive for whatever reason, maybe it's our capitalistic society that doesn't integrate rest into, the ways that we provide for ourselves and create income. Yeah, maybe it's that. Maybe that's why I have this looming cloud over me that if I don't get everything done, then I'm not a valuable piece of society. But once I let that go, then I just remembered that peace isn't earned, it's remembered. It's when you're in a moment where you have so much to do, and even then, you still deserve a moment of peace. Through meditation, through focusing on your breath, through going out into nature, seeing green and hearing birds. Even though you have a lot to do on your plate, you still deserve peace at any moment. And that peace comes when you simply remember that it's there. It's always there and you can always come back to it. So once I let that go, girl. Anyways, the second one is needing to be understood. Saying something like, oh, I can't go, and then following up with, because this, or that. Or saying no and having to follow up with, why not? It made me feel like my words didn't have as much value as they do, and I tricked myself into feeling that people didn't trust me for some reason, like I wasn't trustworthy, like my words weren't valuable. But over-explaining kind of reinforced this lack of confidence. And when you say no, you can explain, but don't over-explain. You don't have to prove anything to that person, because whether it's no just because it's no and they judge you for that, or they judge you for your explanation, or they don't judge you at all, that doesn't change anything. Explain if someone asks if you want to explain, but always, putting it forward that I need to over-explain myself because people aren't going to believe me or they're not going to whatever. It's a lack of self-confidence. And once I started just practicing saying no or explaining myself, but very minimally, and then just being quiet, once I practiced shutting the hell up, that really changed my life. And that changed the way I viewed myself and I felt more confident because I'm like, my words have so much value that there's no explanation needed. And I assume that you get it. And it's on you to ask me if you don't understand what I'm talking about. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, I don't have the responsibility to make sure that everybody understands who I am and where I'm coming from. I hope that lands. Ooh, the next habit that held me back from inner peace is emotional suppression, specifically with the emotions of anger and sadness, because I felt that these two emotions were going to push people away from me and they wouldn't want to spend time around me. And I also had this identity of I'm not a type of person that gets angry or that gets sad. Therefore, I had no way to move those emotions through my body because I was denying that they even existed, and I just felt tense and stressed, and that's not a way that you should be living. So emotional suppression really had me down bad. And when I didn't tell someone that I was angry with them, or that what they did made me sad, or in general if I was angry or sad and I didn't express it, then I built up so much resentment for that other person. It's like I'm angry, and why can't you just tell that I'm angry? Like you should just know that what you did wasn't wrong. When was wrong? When the whole time I could have been like, hey, what you did kind of pissed me off a little bit. Not saying like I would use that word, but what you did upset me. And expressing clear boundaries so that we can talk about it and move forward. And it's not to kill the relationship. It's not like if you express your anger, that person's never going to want to talk to you again. That's who you are. And if they don't like you when you're angry, fuck them. If they don't like you when they're angry, they don't deserve to be around you when you're happy and joyful and at this like homeostasis of peace and joy and love. If that's all that they're there for, it's superficial, and they don't deserve to be in your life if they're not there for the highs and for the lows. Sadness as well. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to have a crying corner. It's okay to go somewhere, to call someone and be like, I'm sad. Because you think you're putting an emotional weight on them by letting them know how you feel, but that's just relationships in general. That's what it looks like to be here for someone who's in your life. That's what it looks like to be held and supported, and you don't need to carry all of that weight on your own shoulders. That's what the community is about. That's what the people around you are for. And that'll bring a lot of peace into your life. So that's the third one that kind of held me back. And the fourth one is feeling like I needed to rescue everybody else. And what that looked like. First of all, it was draining. First of all, that superhero cape is super heavy. Super, super heavy. And what that looked like for me was, since I understood that I could carry a conversation when it got kind of like dull, I would pick it up, and I felt like it was my responsibility to make sure every conversation I was in was a good conversation. But I'm realizing now that those dull moments are indicators, and if I'm talking to someone and the conversation isn't flowing, it's for a reason. On the other hand, it takes so much energy to keep a conversation going that, you know, this is just me, but just making sure that that other person doesn't feel awkward for a joke that they made that wasn't funny, and then I laugh. That is taxing. No more fake laughs. I'm not laughing. Not in a mean way, but I think it's better for both of us if I don't give the courtesy laugh. Because then your jokes get better and I have more energy. So socially, just making sure that everything runs smoothly, and that can be relationally too. Maybe you're showing up for someone physically and they're not showing up for you as much as you are for them, but you're making sure everything goes smooth. Maybe you're the one people blame things on and you just have to like hold that responsibility, make sure everything goes right. Maybe you're the oldest child. Maybe You take care of emotionally immature parents. Maybe there's some dynamic where a lot of people depend on you. Know that it is not your responsibility to make sure that everything runs right. And there's a line in the song, I don't know what the song's called, but it's by Doechii and JT. And then JT, she's like, I'm the problem, I'm the villain. So when I heard that, I was like, period, I'm the problem, I'm the villain. Be the villain for once. You don't have to be the good savior, the hero. Be the villain. The world will still spin. There's tons of villains out there. I'm going to stand on it. Be that villain. Be the villain. And the last one, which was the hardest to get over, was my attachment to who I thought I was supposed to be. I think the only way to evolve, and I learned this from one of Joe Dispenza's talks. He talks about how to manifest the life of your dreams through quantum physics. How come I couldn't think of it? Through quantum physics, which involves like there's different realities all existing at the same time, and you have to be the version, the reality that you want to be in order to live that reality. And he talks about how in evolution, there's no way you're going to be able to reach what you want if you don't take that version of your identity and accept that you are no longer who you were. You're that new identity now. Because the only way to go from old identity to new identity is change. We're changing our habits, we're changing our thoughts. And you attract everything in your life because of who you are and the way that you think. So if you change the way you think, then you change what you attract in your life. If you change your identity, you're consistently agreeing to the fact that life is just birth and death, birth and death, birth of a new self, death of an old self, and consistently evolving and getting closer and closer to that person that you want to be. Or not even that destination of a person that you want to be, but the constant evolution. Your life is going to change. You're going to change your mind. Your circumstances are going to change. So you have to be open to that change, to consider the best possibility, because you can't just stay the same. Why would you do that? But my version of the strong Black woman was identifying with the person that was in school, identifying with the version of myself that didn't have any questions, that was okay emotionally, and I didn't need any help, or I didn't need to go to talk to someone about anything. It was just being that strong person that other people can lean on. But it made me feel more unseen than anything, because I wasn't expressing the version of myself that I had I wasn't expressing the version of myself who I had evolved into, who I had become. I had this mask and I had this version of myself who, maybe someone thought I was this way a couple years ago, and when I see them, I show up as that version of myself. Or maybe someone believed in me for a certain reason and for a certain thing I was doing at the time, so I continued to show up as that person who did that thing. And I didn't change my life because I wanted it to look the way that person saw it so that they could be proud of me. How detrimental. So no one is really seeing your true self when you show up as the mask and show up as that person who you no longer identify with. If you're changing, it's okay for people to come in and out of your life because, you started acting different. People come and go. Things come and go. It's okay to change identities, and you deserve to live the best life that is for you right now. And once I did that, once I made that shift, that switch of the best identity for me is whoever I think I need to be right now to learn my lessons. That's when I started really coming to peace and feeling that inner peace, knowing that first I'm at peace with myself, And when you're at peace with yourself, everyone else reflects the energy that you give out. So if you're at peace with yourself, then others will either be forced to be at peace with who you are, or they will leave and they will not be a part of your life anymore. But that's okay, because that is the evolution of life. And that's the way the cookie crumbles, honestly. It's okay for your life to not look the way it looked 5 years ago because you're a different person. That's okay. And letting go doesn't happen. The flies, man. The flies. Letting go doesn't happen overnight. It's not easy. And, but what it does is it allows you to say, whatever I was carrying from that thing that I was so afraid to let go of, I can let it melt off my shoulders. And once I let it go, then I leave more room for peace. It's not my responsibility to hang on to my baggage and then drag it throughout my life until the end of time. It's not my responsibility to be anything that I was a year ago, a month ago, a week ago, yesterday. I'm evolving continuously. And once you let go of those things, you leave more room for peace and more room for growth. So if you want to come closer to peace, down in the description below, I have my peace ritual guide, where it's a few practices, 15 minutes tops, for you to really ground yourself and come back to peace. And also subscribe to my newsletter. It's free. It's called Peace Notes, and it's just tips and tricks for you to live a softer life and come back to peace, and simple reminders that peace is always with you. And with that, thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like the video and also subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.